There's something I want to talk to you about on this chart that Bitcoin has not done for 8 years. That was hard to do. And I also want to talk to you about this wedge that Bitcoin's in. There was actually, the trading with the S&P 500 actually only started earlier today. So I was wrong about when it would happen. It was one day late. But we have started to see a little bit of a recovery here, which is absolutely great. And you'll know how significant this was if you've been smashing up the likes and staying subscribed to the YouTube channel, because you would have seen the previous couple of videos where this was a big focus point of the YouTube channel. And the thing is that if we zoom in, before I get to the other bigger topics in this video, I just want to talk about this wedge. If we do zoom in and look at this wedge a little bit closer, we can see that this red line has been offering resistance to Bitcoin pretty much since the very beginning of April, actually since the end of March, and we're now in the beginning of May. It's the 3rd of May, right? So seeing continued resistance from this line right here for over a month now, which definitely makes it an important area of resistance in my opinion. And it also lines up with some of the Ichimoku resistance that we can see on the charts right here as well, right? If we take a look at this on the 4-hour time frame, for example, it's pretty clear that this wedge actually lines up really well with the resistance that we've had from the Ichimoku cloud. And that to me is potentially just more of a sign that this is a very significant level that we need to break. The thing about this area, right, is that look, it's good that we are interacting with the resistance level because it tells us that this wedge is valid. And what that means is that if we do get a breakout, we should be able to expect, in my opinion, we should be able to expect that this thing is going to shoot up, right? And it's because we've, if we've used the wedge very well and then we suddenly break it, that is an indication that actually this can result in a really big breakout, which can obviously be super exciting. What I like even more is, there is that Ichimoku resistance, which look, that in itself is not nice. It does mean that we have even more resistance up ahead, but it means even more so that if we manage to break these levels and Bitcoin gets above now only $40,500, which is only about $2,500 higher than where we are right now, or in other words, roughly a 5% move, that's all it's going to take for Bitcoin to then become, in my opinion, quite bullish. And this is to say that, and this is the best thing about, and you're going to see this later on in the video where I talk to you about this 8-year thing, is that if we formed such a horrifically bearish pattern or sequence of events like we've done right here, the minimum bar for something to be very bullish keeps getting lower and lower, which means it's easier to achieve. And that is very much the case over here. Whereas previously we needed to get above 45,000 to be super bullish, now that level in my opinion is only 40.5, right? And that's purely because the resistance just keeps sloping down as well. So as soon as we break out of this, we're good. The thing is, the dollar is still moving really strong. On the 4-hour time frame, it is potentially painting a little bit of an M pattern, which is a super obvious top pattern right here. But daily time frame, which is obviously far more important for the dollar index, is actually potentially painting a bull flag. I don't want you guys to get too excited by this just yet because, we actually did form something very similar to this with the dollar index way back at the end of 2016, where it shot up, traded sideways, looked like it would continue trading up, but of course it didn't. And so, we are still very much battling this resistance area. Obviously, the dollar has been incredibly strong leading up to this. And, again, if you've been watching these videos, just make sure that you are subscribed and so on if you haven't seen them, because that means you're missing out on really important content. But if you have been watching these videos, then you're going to know quite well that actually, Bitcoin, is generally going to suffer quite a lot when the dollar is rising up. But if the dollar drops down, which, again, it's at a resistance level, so I have to expect that, if there was ever a time for the dollar to reverse during this huge rally, it would be right now. If the dollar does drop, then obviously, we can probably expect some upside for Bitcoin, upside for the S&P 500 as well. I'm not seeing anything particularly nice on this chart, to be honest. It actually looks pretty horrible to me, but it's still not moved. It still hasn't lost its key level. It's still kind of scrambling higher. So, that's kind of where the market is right now. It's in overall quite a nasty state. We were talking about these wedges and how, we could be looking at some nice pumps. This one is Ethereum, obviously, but looking at a potential, like 16% pump right here. So we're just kind of like on the edge of what I think could be quite a nice breakout. Again, if we look at the fear and greed index, for example, it's just, I mean, it's quite low. Well, it's been picking up a little bit now. I have no idea why it would pick up a little bit now, because nothing particularly bullish has happened, but we're still staying in fearful territory, if not extreme fear territory. You know, and to me, again, it's showing me that we're in a lot of ways, we're on the brink of something really, really good happening. We have a shot, we have a chance, is what I'm saying, but it's all happening within the shadow of a very bearish market. And one of the things I want to show you right here to put this in perspective, right, is the Bitcoin chart. If we zoom out quite far, if we take a look at the Bitcoin chart being very zoomed out, let me see which chart makes sense. Let's use this chart to demonstrate the point. On the weekly time frame here, we've now had 5 weekly candles in a row that have moved down. Take a look at this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're on number 6 right now. Obviously, this candle might not close red. I mean, you know, there's still 5 days left, right? So there's a good chance that we can end up rallying up. But 5 weekly candles in a row where the market has, you know, closed lower than where it opened. You know, I mean, we've had vicious sell-offs, you know, recently, right? I mean, this sell-off here, the big one from 60K down to 30, this lasted 2 weeks, right? The other one right here, before we saw a little bit of a temporary relief, lasted 3 weeks. Generally, we're not selling off for 5 weekly candles in a row. I mean, that is quite a lot of blood. That's quite a lot of pain right there. And the last time actually that we saw something like this, I'm gonna have to scroll back really, really far. It was back in 2014. I don't even have the price history on this chart, but that's fine because I've drawn it on this chart right here. You know, this right here, you can barely even see it because you have to zoom out so far. But this right here, right at the end of 2014, this is the last time Bitcoin is, and you can count it. I mean, you know, even big downtrends right here. I know these candles are a little bit different, but we've got, you know, 1, 2 in a row, 2 weekly candles in a row, 2 weekly. Here we have 3 weekly candles in a row, but they're always broken up by some green. The reason this is important is that if we've had so many consecutive selling candles, let me actually just find you these candles because it's just so zoomed out that you can barely even understand what the chart is showing. I believe it was right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bam, right here. It is these 5 candles right here, you know, that were the continuous sell-off. And the reason this is a big deal is it shows you that, yes, okay, you know, some of these weekly candles, they're not actually very big, like right here, you know, but bottom line, what we are seeing is that the market is just so weak, right? It's just not finding any relief whatsoever. And it doesn't mean that the market is going to bottom out. You know, I want to make this point clear. What it's a demonstration of is that things are getting very extreme, right? Things are getting out of perspective. Things are getting unrealistic, overextended, you know, but that doesn't mean that the carnage cannot continue. You know, we had these 5 weekly bearish candles. We had what is, in my opinion, an even more bearish candle because it is I believe this is called a shooting star, where the wick goes very, very high, but the candle closes much lower. And so that shows you that within this trading week, the price shot up all the way to $300, but it couldn't keep those gains and it dropped down to 260, and it paints a very, very bearish candle. I know these sound like small numbers to you and I now, but you know, to put it in perspective, that was a 10% drop. And the reason I'm pointing this all out is that it didn't, pardon me, it didn't actually get better. You know, we formed this one bullish candle, but I mean, it was still a bearish candle in my opinion. But the next week, it it absolutely fell through the floor, and it got really, really bad. Right? Take a look at this. If I measure the drop here, that was a 39% drop roughly. You know, from the next weekly candle. So, I mean, this did mark the end of the bear market. You know, Bitcoin topped out at $1,100 roughly, fell all the way down to this low at 150, and that was the bottom. And then Bitcoin rallied up to $20,000. The rest was history, right? So it did mean that we were very close to the bottom, but it didn't mean we were at the bottom. And that's kind of what I'm trying to put forward with you guys right now. You know, if the dollar shoots up from here and it makes new highs, I don't know what's going to happen, because that would be a huge breakout that the dollar hasn't seen for more than 10 years. And I've only been a trader for 5. So unfortunately, my knowledge is reaching somewhat of a ceiling right now. But if we do end up seeing a rejection from that level and the dollar moves down, well, I mean, keeping in mind 5 weeks of downward trading action, that's just a lot. Too much. It's too much momentum. We just don't see it often. Even when the market is selling off quite aggressively, it gets broken up a little bit. Here's one instance right here. I think this looks like 6 candles in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Guys, you think Bitcoin is hard now? Like, if you weren't around back in 2013, 2014, you don't know what you're talking about, because this market would have been horrible to be a part of back then. But absolutely, still very much the case right now that I just want to focus your attention on that. Generally when we have these kind of things, what they are an indication of, in my opinion, is just that things are overextended. So again, I don't want to start making conclusions like, the market is going to bottom out now because we've had 5 bearish candles in a row. No, not at all. I mean, we can still definitely drop through the floor. We can drop to 20K, we can drop to 2K, we can drop to 0, right? I mean, anything can happen. But realistically, again, when you look at how much of a correction we've already had, how we've had another one now, but it's slower. It's clearly slower. Things are slowing down now. To me, it just shows me that we are due for some sort of a reversal, right? Whether that is, a big one that takes us up to 50, or a smaller one that takes us up to only 44, for example, or a huge one, or the big one, the one that, potentially sets brand new all-time highs for us. It's all on the table right now, is what I'm saying. And I think a lot of it is going to depend on what happens with these more conventional markets, which is why I'm watching them so closely. I think a lot of it is going to depend on what happens with the dollar, which is why I'm watching the dollar so closely as well. But for now, what I know is that the bar for things to get very bullish again is just not that high. It's just not that high right now for Bitcoin to break. And there is a lot of good reasons for me to believe that if Bitcoin does manage to break these resistance levels, it should be able to enjoy quite a nice, generous rise, at least in the short term, just considering how much price suppression there's been. A lot of people are going to be in their short positions. If the market gets a little bit of a pump right now, that's going to take those short positions underwater. And the only way you close out a short position is by opening a long position, which is to say by buying Bitcoin. The only way you can close a selling position is by opening a buying position, and then you neutralize the two, and that's how trading works. So the only way you close a buying position is you open a selling position. It's a weird way to think about it, but it makes sense. If you have a position size that is plus 100, the way you close it is you subtract 100. So you're opening a closing position, but it doesn't actually open a new position. It just cancels out the old one. Interesting stuff. If you want to trade on the same exchange that I'm using, it's all happening on Bybit. Check them out with the link in the description down below. Again, I've been using them for years. I've been using them right now as well. They also allow you to buy crypto with fiat. Guys, by the way, everyone thinks Bitcoin is in a really, really bad place, or many people do. Many people are seriously talking about levels like $20,000. Look, I'm just saying we're at 38 right now, and I just think it's far too early to talk about 20. I mean, I'll talk about it as, an intellectual exercise, as something that's enjoyable to discuss, but I still think we're too far away from that. And I'm seeing the fear and greed levels. Everything is there right now that this is the classic formula for when a good time to buy Bitcoin is. From what I'm seeing, it's right now. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I already told you that I'm looking to buy Bitcoin in this range. I might just do it now, to be honest. I really like this price level. I think you can't go wrong with it. Even if Bitcoin drops down much lower, to me, just keeping in mind that obviously I'm expecting Bitcoin to, rally past $100,000. It doesn't matter to me, if I entered at 38 or 37 or even 30. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to make a big difference to me. So that's all happening on Bybit as well. If you want to check it out, again, check out the link in the description, because you're going to get some free money deposited into your account as a thank you for using my sign up link in the description. Obviously, depending on where you are in the world, like for me right now, you will need a VPN if you want to access Bybit. But of course, I can't recommend that. And if you do want to jump inside of 4Fly's VIP, you want to completely transform yourself as a trader, elevate yourself, make yourself a better trader that can be more consistent, keep your capital safe in this market. We have turned so many traders around in market environments like right now since we've launched. And if you want to be one of them, then all you got to do is reach out by following these steps on screen right here. It's the first link in the description down below, then the @4Flies button, and then send message to ask me how to join. And we'll send you all that information right away. I hope you have enjoyed this one. You know what to do if you have. hit up the likes, subscribe, tick the bell, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.